And welcome back. As you know by now, the 2010 governor's race in Minnesota is going to be a wide open affair. Governor Tim Pawlenty announcing a couple weeks ago he would not seek re-election. Joining me now to talk about how this could impact the landscape, the political landscape in Minnesota, are three representatives of the major parties in Minnesota. Brian Melendez, who is the executive director of the DFL party. Dean Barkley, standing in for Jack Aldrich this week. Dean, of course, well known as a Senate candidate and has run for office other times. And Tony Sutton, the newly minted chairman of the Republican Party. Thank you, the Republican Party. Thank you all for being here. Brian, let me start with you. You guys are desperate to win the governor's office because it's been a long dry spell. 1978, I believe, the last year that you won the office.
Well, are you counting Rudy Perpich?
Yeah, I am counting Rudy Perpich.
Okay.
And you are got a lot of candidates lining up. How do you think you're going to fare, given the fact that Democrats have had a pretty good political climate recently?
Well, there's not only that, but there's the fact that the Republicans, their statewide bench was pretty much wiped out in 2006, leaving only Governor Tim Pawlenty standing. He's now withdrawn from the race, so before he got out of the race, I thought our chances were very good. Now I think they're great.
Dean, I know you've talked about possibly running. Tim Penny has talked about it, and then I hear he's not thinking about it, and now you tell me maybe he is. What is the Independence Party going to, what kind of factor will you have in this race?
Well, I think we're going to have a major factor. We've been talking, in fact, we've been talking with Governor Ventura also. We're trying to make sure that we are going to field a competitive, well-known candidate and make it a viable three-party race, and we'll see what happens.
You don't mean to tell me you've talked to Governor Ventura about possibly running again, have you?
Well, of course I'd do that. Of course I'd try to convince him to run.
And what has he said?
He said no, but but we're still talking.
It's not going to be like the Senate race where he kind of milks it up till the very end, and then he might decide to get in?
Well, you never know with Jesse Ventura doing it, so just stay tuned and see what might happen.
All right. And Tony Sutton, what would you make of a race that would involve a big Democratic field, Governor Ventura, and whoever the Republicans can field?
Well, I don't know about Jesse Ventura. I think the Republicans, we have a pretty deep bench, actually. We've got some really good candidates already out there running, and I think that the folks are going to be, frankly, the people in Minnesota will want to continue the leadership that Tim Pawlenty's put forward. We're going to present some really good candidates that will do just that.
Now, Brian Sullivan, who was considered by many to be the front runner because he narrowly lost the endorsement to Tim Pawlenty a number of years ago, has decided not to run. Does that hurt your field to already lose the presumed front
Not
runner?
really, not at all. I think that Brian would have been a great candidate, but we have a lot of good people who are thinking about running and who are actually putting together campaigns as we speak. And I think that only makes for opens it up and makes for, frankly, a very vigorous endorsing contest that I think will bring out the best in the candidates, and we'll endorse a great candidate. I'm confident we'll win in 2010.
Now, Brian, as you've been watching this unallotment process with Governor Pawlenty, he obviously isn't going to have to run for re-election, and it's probably a good thing having to take this dramatic of a step. But do you think that's going to hurt Republicans overall?
I'm certain that it will, because it was the intransigence of legislative Republicans that led to unallotment. Unallotment is going to backfire on Governor Pawlenty and the Republican Party. We're going to see unallotment cause some serious pain to some real human beings, and those stories are going to begin to unfold in the coming days and weeks. And I just don't see how a political party survives inflicting that kind of pain on the body politic without any kind of public consensus.
Tony, the governor says it was the failure of Democrats to reach a compromise that led to unallotment.
This is historic revisionism here. The Democrats couldn't get the job done. They have huge majorities in the legislature. Couldn't get it done. The governor had to lead. And look, we're out of money, folks. Now, liberals, don't worry. We're still spending tens of billions of dollars every year. The nanny state continues. These cuts are small. They're not going to. They're cuts that can be absorbed, quite frankly. We're out of money. We don't have more money, and we can't create job-killing taxes to keep funding the big spenders.
Dean, the Independence Party has no members of the legislature, so your fingerprints are not on this at all. But how do you observe what's going on?
I think you just saw the example of why we're still viable, why we continue to be a factor, because these two parties can't agree on what time of day it is. I mean, let's go back to the good old days where compromise wasn't a dirty word when Ventura was in charge. It's kind of thing when people saying, God, I like the good old days when Jesse was actually governor. It's because you got someone that can actually compromise. Well, these guys can't compromise on anything.
Now, when I think of Jesse Ventura, I don't think kumbaya. Do you recall that from the Ventura?
I don't really recall that it working that. Don't really recall it working that way. And you know, actually, Governor Ventura, with his tax rollbacks during his administration, really laid the groundwork for the mess that we're in right now. And Governor Pawlenty's administration has made it worse. The Democrats actually came up with a sustainable, long-term restoration of Minnesota's fiscal health, and Pawlenty would not accept it.
But both Republicans and Democrats did go along with the governor when they rolled those taxes back.
Well, when they rolled them back, but let's be revisionist here. It was 2002 when the Democrats, Republicans put together a budget deal that caused the mess we've had the last 10 years over Governor Ventura's veto. He wanted to actually increase taxes back then, and he brought the Democrats and Republicans together to pass one of the most irresponsible budgets the state's ever seen, and we've been in the hole ever since.
And Tony, Republicans did stand in the way of Ventura trying to do that.
Thankfully, we stood in the way of tax increases. Tax increases kill jobs. And if you guys are ever going to be successful again at winning the governorship, you're going to have to take the mantra of Rudy Perpich, jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what it's about. And by raising taxes, you kill jobs. Why do you think 3M isn't building more facilities in Minnesota? We have job-killing taxes. We need to roll back the taxes so we can expand the economy here in Minnesota, not tax the people who are creating jobs out of the state.
I will gladly adopt Rudy Perpich's mantra because it is about jobs, 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 and you will hear Democratic candidates talk about that. But let's deflate the myth that there are no tax increases here. There absolutely are tax increases in the way Governor Pawlenty is running the state. It's just that he's pushing them onto property taxes. Minnesotans' taxes are going to go up because you can't run a state government without getting more revenue than we've got right now. His claim that there are no new taxes is a false claim.
I'm going to give you the final word. Is this Jesse Ventura thing a 1 in a million shot, or is it just something for coffee table chatter?
All he's doing is very interested in the governor's race. He wants to make sure that we can field a viable candidate. I have had consultations with him. His chances of running for governor are probably 0, but I think he may be involved more than people may think.
All right. Well, we're going to stay tuned. It's going to be a fascinating, 500 and some days of Election Day 2010?
Year and a half.
And we're not even done with the 2008 Senate race yet. We're already looking ahead. The chairman of the DFL party, Brian Melendez, Dean Barkley from the Independence Party, Tony Sutton, chairman of the Republican Party. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.